Today's question is, what's the most idiotic rule you've ever been expected to abide by?
This will get lost in the shuffle, and it's far from the stupidest rule mentioned here, but maybe I just want to vent. Up until a couple weeks ago at work, it was the general policy for the floor associates where I worked to have to stay over past our scheduled end of shift until all the work was done. They'd been understaffing us, so of course nothing ever got done the way it was supposed to in the course of an ordinary shift. Meanwhile, since the cashiers are on some different shift scheduling system that is more closely monitored by home office or something, they had got to leave right when they were scheduled to leave at closing time instead of being able to come out and help on the floor to get the work done quickly and efficiently. Cool, whatever. I and all the other closing floor associates got a few more hours than we were scheduled every week, and the work got done one way or another. Well, guess what? It's nearing the end of our fiscal year, and for some reason we're over budget on the payroll. So now we must leave at our scheduled end of shift regardless of what still needs to be done. And they have fewer people working each shift, and everyone's weekly hours have been cut significantly during the holidays at a fairly major retail chain. And they're cracking down on a bunch of other shit that ultimately results in nothing getting done. It just feels like we're getting the shaft for something that wasn't even our fault to begin with. Meanwhile, the managers and corporate folks whose fault it actually was are making exactly zero sacrifices. TLDR, all year we're forced to work past our scheduled time to leave. At the end of the year, we magically have a budget crisis and hourly workers are forced to make sacrifices. For a long time at our school, our local fire marshal has come in unannounced to check and see if we're up to fire code and safety standards and whatnot. This is fine and all except they're crazy strict about it. Like we can get a $500 fine for a book bag leaned up against the wall in a hallway because they could impede an emergency escape or something. The administration frequently threatens to put these fines on whoever's book bag it is, but nobody takes that seriously and they've never done it. So it's a stupid rule, but it doesn't really bother the students other than on principle. Starting at the beginning of this year, the math department, which is notorious for being a clique and always trying to pass stupid rules through the administration, decided we weren't allowed to bring our book bags to their classes anymore. Their reasoning behind this was we might trip on them, to which I thought, well, you're seemingly competent women, and no other teacher I've ever known have had this rule. Why don't you ask one of your fellow faculty members how they miraculously avoid the book bags? But I never actually said this. They told us to leave them in our lockers, to which we responded that they don't fit and that going to our lockers would make us late to class. Our lockers are a long ways away from the math department. That's why we just carry all our books in our book bags. To which they basically responded, tough shit. So we started leaving them against the walls in the halls outside the classrooms. Cue surprise fire marshal inspection while 5 math classes are going on. From what I've gathered from non-math teachers I've asked, our school got fined somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000. The day after we got that fine, there was a meeting with the administration and the math department. I was signing out to go to a doctor's appointment when they came out of the office looking whiter than snow. When our teacher announced that rule being revoked in our calculus class, there was a standing ovation. Taught me a good lesson that as power increases, stupidity stays the same. TLDR, Venezuelan government detained me, tortured me, and conscripted me into their military for 17 years for wearing yellow pants on a Thursday. Oh Lord. In a group communications course at my junior college, never take a college class with group in the title, and definitely never at a JC, we were set in groups from the first day on to do all our work/projects together for the semester. Our first assignment was to all agree on group ground rules, which we all had to agree to and sign and turn in as our first assignment. And I end up in a group with an obnoxious little product of homeschooling by overprotective grandparents. This kid really wanted a rule that nobody in the group could curse. No foul language at all. After several rounds of questioning and argumentation, during which he conceded that accidental outbursts were allowed if immediately followed by an apology, we asked him to agree to disagree and simply not to curse if he chose not to. We could not convince him that. Being an adult at an adult school, I use that term very loosely, You should be expected to act like an adult concerning the possibility of hearing adult language. He would not budge, would not have it, and refused to sign the rules if we did not pledge not to curse in his presence. I spent the rest of the semester swearing at every opportunity, which was surprisingly more than I expected. I think I made him cry a couple times. TLDR, in a group comms class, homeschool baby wants us to not curse in front of him. We ignore him. During my junior year of high school, we had an assistant principal come into my math class to lecture the students on their behavior. I'll admit that the class did have behavioral issues, but myself and a handful of others weren't being problematic students. The assistant principal asks everyone in the room to sign a piece of paper with a list of new rules that this class will be enforcing, with a great many of these rules being pretty ridiculous and threatening suspension for any rule violators. A few that I can still recall were: no leaving your seat under any circumstances without permission. No turning your head or breaking eye contact with the teacher. No talking to another student at any time without permission. Absolutely no speaking out in class without permission. The entire time the assistant principal is reading of this list, I can't help but feel like I'm being unfairly punished because of the conduct problems of others. It felt to me like I was being drilled by a staff sergeant for something that I didn't do, forced to follow a ridiculously strict set of rules. Even though I really wanted to criticize this new regimen, I continued to hold my tongue. Finally, the AP asks if anyone in the class disagrees with the new rules or feels as if they are overly harsh. My hand shoots straight into the air, and I'm called on by the assistant principal. I dramatically clear my throat and proceed to say, "Please, Mrs. _______, tell me if I'm reading all of this correctly." So, in the event that I needed to borrow a pencil from another student, I would first have to raise my hand to get the teacher's attention, then ask the teacher for permission to turn my head and speak with another student. And again, that student would have to raise his hand and ask for permission to turn his head. Next, I would have to ask that student for permission to borrow his pencil, and after I would have to raise my hand and ask for the teacher's permission to sharpen said pencil. Does that sound about right to you? The class, which had earlier been pretty somber, burst into laughter. I'm told to immediately report to the principal's office for my statement, and I'm later suspended for 2 days because of it for undermining authority. The wonders of Catholic school. We live in Canada, and even though it's -30 outside, we expect you to wear these thin baggy dress pants to and from school. Jeans? Fuck no, conduct report. So your kilt is above your knees, eh? Disgusting. Conduct report. Wearing a scarf? Who the fuck do you think you are? Harry Potter. Conduct report and detention for being a wizard. Don't feel like wearing the golf shirt underneath the sweater? Suck my nuts, you're getting a conduct report. Don't feel like praying today? Get your ass to the office, heathen. White laces in your black shoes. That ain't uniform. Conduct report. What's that you got there? A full cup of coffee on your desk? I know you just got back from lunch, but no drinking in the classroom, throw it out now. I hate school. Went through basic training and advanced training in the Army. It was like being in a cage full of retards. Not a single damn person knew how to think for themselves. The ones who were allowed to a bit would do stupid shit like making us rake lines in the sand so that it looked nice. In the rain. What the actual fuck? Another one. Wake up at 4:30 a.m. Be outside and ready to march at 5 o'clock. Roll call, then exercise field at 5:30 sharp. Must do standard physical training. Look up Army SBT and see how retarded that shit is. Doesn't help at all. Not allowed to take soldiers running for 2 miles. 1 mile and 3 miles is okay, but not 2 miles because that's how long the physical test is for. Not allowed to do 2-minute push-up/sit-up for the same reason. 1 minute is okay though, as is 3 minutes. 2 minutes is not okay. Anyways, I digress. That's not the stupid part. 6:30 we're done with PT, march towards dining hall. Get there at 7 o'clock despite it being 5 minutes away. At 7:30 we are required to be outside, showered, with the room clean, in our day's uniform, ready to go to training or daily duty. regardless of if you want breakfast or not, or if you want to eat some fruits or whatever. Everyone must stand in the hot food line with a tray. If you are at the end of the line, you will not shower, shave, or clean your room. You will be lucky to get outside with your boots on. This inevitably means you will be destroyed by superiors for the rest of the week. Another stupid rule: fail PT test running because it's 17 degrees in January and you haven't run all Christmas break. You pass push-ups and sit-ups. For remedial training, right after dinner, they make you do only push-ups and sit-ups. Can't run. Won't take you to the track. If you run sprints on concrete, get shin splints, and are told you aren't allowed to run or jog for 4 months. End result: perpetually fail PT test. I could go on and on, but I won't. Thank God I got out. And this is the end of today's video. I hope you liked it, and don't forget to comment an anecdote or experience similar to the topic of the video. Leave your like, share if you liked the video, and lastly, don't forget to activate the little bell so you don't miss any of our daily videos. Bye-bye.